Member for Corangamite.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. Well, as I was saying, I'm delighted that our government is working so hard to invest in the jobs of the future and infrastructure, and I reference the Geelong Region Innovation and Investment Fund. Now, this is a $29.5 million fund, Mr Deputy Speaker, but it should be a $37 million fund. And I want to reflect on the Victorian Government's refusal to hand over $7.5 million that it committed to this fund unconditionally. And in failing to hand this over, there's $15 million from the Commonwealth, all of which has been spent by our government, 5 each from Alcoa and Ford, and the government has so far only committed $4.5 million. It promised $7.5 million. The member for Geelong, Christine Cousins, even made that statement a few weeks ago at an event at which I was attending. And, Mr Deputy Speaker, the Industry Minister, Minister Ambrosio, has written to the member for Western Victoria, Simon Ramsey, confirming that this government will not put this money into the fund, and it's an absolute disgrace. This commitment was unconditional, and this is damaging jobs and is an attempt, Mr Deputy Speaker, to sabotage this fund. The minister writes, the Victorian Government has decided to go it alone and assume administrative responsibility for the fund once existing funding has been fully allocated. This is a disgrace. The minister does not understand that this is a jointly run fund where agreements have to be reached amongst the various contributors to the fund. And I say shame on the Victorian Government for breaching this commitment, which is hurting Geelong jobs and Geelong workers. Similarly, Mr Deputy Speaker, I also note that the Victorian Government, the Labor government, has again continues to fail to make any contribution to incentives, to an incentive package for the Land 400 $10 billion defence contract. We are working very hard to attract a big slice of that project, and I'm very hopeful that part of that project from at least one of the bidders will be based in Geelong, or partly based in Geelong, Mr Deputy Speaker. The member for Corio has made some false statements in relation to Land 400. It is fully funded. It is on track. The request for tender is underway. In fact, $117 million appears on page 158 of the Defence Portfolio Budget Statement. That's the allocation, and it's an absolute disgrace that Labor in Victoria and the Labor MPs in Geelong are doing nothing to drive the incentives package that we need. South Australia has delivered $100 million in incentives. This government is sitting on its hands, like what it's done with the East-West Link. It's destroyed 7,000 jobs. It's also completely thrown away the opportunities on Bay West, another complete and utter broken promise. And we now see the Victorian Government sabotaging the GRIF, which is so important for local jobs, and sabotaging our chances of attracting important work under the Land 400 Defence project.